Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Let me get this little piece of hair. It's just all over the place. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I welcome into the new viewers, and welcome back to the returning viewers. Shout out to the four season fam. I see you on the chat, Miss Vanessa, Leoichi, and Mystical Unori. Thank y'all for being a part of the stream, the podcast tonight. I appreciate y'all. If this is your first time here, I am your host for Seasons, spelled Ivsznz, and this is the Four Seasons with Four Seasons podcast. This is a space curated by us all to be open, honest, and vulnerable surrounding the topics of mental health, relationships, self esteem, goal setting and goal achieving, as well as accountability. So I welcome you guys in. So, how we doing, y'all? How are we feeling right now? Where are we at? Well, not where we at. How are we feeling? We'll get to where we're at here in a little bit. Um, I feel pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. My energy level may not be the best today. I am just very, very tired today. I had a lot going on. I had a lot of ripping and running to do today. Um, just very, very responsible, really responsible today about things getting done, being an adult. So I feel pretty good. Like I said, I'm a little tired. And a part of me was like, maybe I should just like call off today for the stream. But no, y'all, that's when amazing things happen. When we push through, when we feel like we don't want to, I'm putting my wants above, I'm putting my temporary wants over my long term wants, right? So me being present, me still being here. I'm still gonna give y'all energy. I'm just letting y'all know, this is a little chill kind of episode tonight. What's up, Miss Courtney 93? I'm happy to have you in here. Hey, feeling real nice. Okay. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Um, so yeah, what we're going to do now, I'm just gonna keep the program going. Um, we're gonna get into our second part of our check-in, right? And that is the line dynamic. So let me go ahead and switch over to that real quick. All right, perfect. So this is the line dynamic. And what this represents or shows is a depiction of where we're at, how we're feeling, right? Based on using the line, right? So as you guys can see in the middle, that's a line and that's just the base level. And so we're gonna go from top to bottom and explain everything, right? So when we're above the line, as you guys can see with the smiling happy emojis, right? That means we're in a good mindset. We're in a good headspace and that things are good. And being above the line signifies that we have the energy to push on, to push through, to be great, right? In that moment. For me, sometimes when I'm so far above the line, I tend to give some of that energy to people who may not be above the line with me or maybe close to it, right? Maybe someone who's on the line wants to be a little bit above it, or maybe someone who's below the line and wants to at least just get to being on the line, right? And so whenever I am above the line, and I have the capacity to do that, right? Because that's one thing we have to realize is sometimes we may be in a headspace or a mindset where it's great for us, but we don't have the capacity to pour and give to others in that moment, right? So when I am so far above the line and I do have that capacity to give to others, I do that, right? Because I don't want to be the only one that's above the line and when I am above the line, right? I want to be around others who are above the line or at least striving to just be better than where they're at in the moment, right? So that is the first tier, which is being above the line. Our second tier is just the standard on the line. What this line dynamic is based around is being on the line. And when we say being on the line, based on the emojis that we have listed here, shown here, being on the line just means that we're okay. Nothing's too great, nothing's too horrible. We're just okay. Um, and I feel like in this day and age, in this climate, in this country that I live in, Um, being on the line seems to just be the standard, right? It seems like it's becoming harder and harder to stay above the line, let alone get to being to get to being above the line, let alone then being consistently above the line, right? And so I think the standard for most people nowadays is just being okay, just being able to get up, function, and move around, and do what's necessary for them, right? I know some people may look at that and being like, oh well, that sounds horrible, but when you have to go through a lot of strife, a lot of fights, a lot of stressful situations, for some people, being okay is being above the line for some people. But for how we have it lined up, being on the line is just okay. And there's nothing wrong with just being okay in that moment, right? What's up, a wise dream? Shout outs to a wise for the sub. I appreciate my brother. Hola, hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, ¿y tú? We're just gonna leave it at that because y'all, my Spanish is not the best. I took Spanish for 3 years in college and I did enough to pass. Yeah, I did enough to pass. Um, so we go leave it at that. But yes, being online just means you're okay. That means things are just okay. It's the baseline, right? And so, last but definitely not least, as we can see at the bottom of the screen, being below the line, based off the angry, sad, upset, frustrated emojis that we have there, it means we're not in a good headspace. Things are not good. Things are bad. And they may be so bad in our mind right now or in our face, they may be so bad that we can't even see the good that may be coming from some of these things, right? um Being below the lines means things aren't good. And I know for me, when I feel like I'm so far below the line, I just feel so yucky about myself. I'm not feeling myself sometimes. um if it's to the point where I know if I reach out, that some of that nastiness that I'm feeling, some of that toxicity that I'm feeling may pour over into somebody who doesn't deserve it, right? um when I am so far below the line and I have those feelings, I tend to isolate, right? I tend to turn into myself, give it to God, and use that time to just be, just to feel as yucky as I want to in that moment, right? And I'm at a point now in my adulthood is that where I like to give myself a day. If I'm feeling really, really bad, I'll just give myself a day of isolation for the most part, not complete isolation. I do reach out to some people to let them know I'm still here, right? I'm still alive. But when I feel really, really bad and like I could harm those that may, mean me no harm based on what I'm feeling, I isolate, right? And I turn everything to Jesus. Um, and when I do that, I tend to, get a little bit closer to the line. I may still be below the line. And then when it's at that point where I'm not, I don't have the ability to be toxic to those around me, I tend to reach out to my support group, right? And your support group can look vastly different compared to my support group. But for me, my support group, it consists of my family, my friends, professional help, so like a therapist, as well as last but definitely not least, God, my church family, and my spiritual leaders, right? And so when I'm at a point where I'm not as yucky as I was, and I know I need some type of support on the outside, I reach out to all of these um, support systems at once, right? For me. So because I know that something from those places is going to get me at least even higher from being below the line to at least being closer to being on the line, right? And so that is my tactic when I am feeling below the line. Now, you can do whatever you want to do for yourself. This is just for me. I'm not here to give any advice at the moment. I'm just sharing what I do, what helps me. I'm not a gatekeeper. If it helps me, I tend to give it out to those close to me to see if it helps them, right? Because what's the point of gatekeeping if those around you can't, benefit from the things that help us, right? So, with that being said, with the explanation of the line dynamic out of the way, this is the point where we just sit and figure out where are we at on the line. Are you above the line? Are you on the line? Or are you below the line today? Um, and understand that wherever you fall out on the line in this moment is just a temporary feeling, right? It is up to us to continue on if we want to continue to feel how we feel, right? So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to gather your thoughts, and we will continue on after we figure out where we're at on the line tonight. All right, let's keep going, y'all. All right, we are back. So where are we at on the line today, y'all? For me, I'm I'm above the line. I'm like super above. I would say based off of my energy, I'm not super above, but like on the inside, I'm very much above the line. Today was a really good day. Um, I did a lot of stuff that God's been using me, y'all. And I'll talk more about it as we get into the topic tonight. But God has been using me in so many ways. God has been stretching me in so many ways. Has been putting me in positions that I never would have thought of I'd be in, right? So I'm just like overwhelmed with happiness. And I think all that being so overwhelmed, I'm just so tired, right? With everything that I've been doing today. But I am very much above the line. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling really good. And I'm thankful that I'm able to be here with you guys. I'm thankful that my electricity working because they did some electrical work and they said this stuff will be off for 4 hours. I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But everything's working fine. Um, I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel great. Um, I'm happy you guys are here. You know, I'm happy to share this moment with you guys. As always, every Thursday, I'm always happy. But this is just I'm just really thankful and grateful today. So I'm just leaning into that, right? So yes, that's where I'm at. I'm very much above the line and just basking in my thankfulness and gratefulness of what God has been doing for me and will continue to do for me, you know? So yeah, that's where I'm at. A Wise Dream says, I'm pretty above. This week has been cool. Seeing family and streaming has been fun. And short work week is always nice. Say that. We love a short work week. And y'all go follow A Wise Dream. When I tell you, my friend, my guy does a lot of streaming. He's a consistent streamer. Y'all, if y'all are fans of Resident Evil, this man is streaming everything. Resident Evil. I think he's building up into the release of Resident Evil 9, if I'm not mistaken, which is supposed to be, I think, next week. So if that's something you guys are into, please go ahead and follow him. Y'all know I'm not a horror fan. I don't do horror. I don't do scary stuff, but I do go over there and show support and show some love because, you know, we need to have more great content creators out here that have great energy, that are wholesome. So yeah, that's something you guys are interested in. Go give him some love. Go give him some love. Leo Ichi, right above the line, doing quite all right if I do say so. Okay. Okay. I love that. I love that. That is making me happy to hear, bro. Like really. I'm happy to hear that my friends and my loved ones are very much above the line today, you know, because we deserve that. We deserve that. Miss Vanessa says, I'm above the line today. Happy to be alive. Say that. I'm happy that you're alive too. You know, I'm happy that you're happy. Um, Vanessa, I want to give you a shout out, but I can't give you a shout out right now because of certain things. But we gonna get this taken care of because you know we gonna show you love on the right platform. How about that? We gonna give you that. A Wise Dream says appreciate it. Yep, leading the ninth. Come on, it's coming soon. So go support all of the chatters if they stream, if they don't. Just support, because ain't nothing like good, genuine support from people, right? So, with that being said, let us move into the topic of tonight. Exclamation mark word. So, if you guys can see by the title, the word of the week for this week is loss. So, what are your first thoughts when you hear or see the word loss? I'm going to give you guys a few moments to gather your thoughts and put them in the chat so we can discuss here shortly. So, let's get to it, y'all. All right. And we're back. We're back. We're back. So, what are our first thoughts when we see or hear the word loss? For me, I think the obvious one is like a death, losing someone. I think also of when you lose a game, or especially with some of my friends in the chat, when you lose a game and when loss happens, when rivals happens, we lose, we lose, we lose, we win, we lose, we win, we lose, we win, we win, we lose, we win, we lose, we lose, we lose. And then you look at all the gray in your history, right? And you're like, dog, man, I've been on a losing streak, right? That's one of the first things that comes to mind. Um, I also think of the loss of weight, so weight loss. That's another thing that comes to mind. What else? Loss. I think that's it. I'm gonna stick with those. Um, because I don't want to give too much away for the topic tonight, but we'll stick in that realm for those first thoughts for me. Let's see, Miss Vanessa, the mutual mental understanding. Hey, friend, we gonna get it together, friend. Miss Vanessa also says, I think of grief, the passing of a loved one, or to be defeated. That part, that part. Leo Uchi says, death, taken away, lose something. Got you. A Wise Dream says, losing a loved one, competition, loss of feeling emotions. Okay. Those are really good ones, y'all. Those are really good ones. And it makes sense when we think of the first thoughts when it comes to loss. And a lot of the things that we're saying are in the same vein as that, right? So let us move into the clear cut definition by Merriam Webster and them niggas, right? The definition of loss is the act or fact of being unable to keep or maintain something or someone. Another definition is the harm or privation resulting from losing or being separated from someone or something. All right, so we got the definition out, we got our first thoughts out. Now let's just get into the meat and potatoes of the topic tonight, right? So, what we do here after we get in, we do the words of the week, get the definition, our first thoughts, we move into what I like to call the four seasons of understanding. With the theme of the month of February being lust, love, and loss. Today, the word of the week is loss. And so we're going to dive a lot into what that is for today, right? How we're going to look at it from the scope of the four seasons of understanding, right? And the four seasons of understanding are mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So we're going to look at the word loss from those three vantage points, right? So we'll start with season one, which is mentally. So when I think of loss in the mental aspect, I think of losing myself mentally, right? And I kind of gave you guys a little preview about that early on today about how above the line I'm feeling, right? Um, because God is stretching me and changing me in so many ways, and I'm losing, I'm losing the old me, right? I'm losing the old me while I'm growing and cultivating the new me, if that makes sense. And so when I think of gardening and growing, right, you use soil or manure or something, or sometimes even dead plants as fertilizer for new plants to grow, right? And whew, I'm just saying this out loud and it's kind of hitting me. Um, I am losing a lot of who I was before. Um, my mindset has shifted drastically. The things that I used to do, the things that I used to say, y'all, I haven't been cussing for almost 2 months now, right? And for me, that was something so ingrained into me that it was natural, right? I would throw out a cuss word here and there just because, cursing, our mindset was that, well, for me, my mindset was that cursing just added flavor to whatever you were saying, right? It gets your point across a little more directly. Um, but as I've made a conscious effort to remove cursing from my vocabulary, I've noticed quite a few things. So losing my old self, right? So losing the old things, so specifically cursing. I have noticed that I have slowed down a lot when I'm talking to people. I've noticed that my word choice and my vocabulary has gotten vastly larger. I'm starting to use more words that I haven't been using in quite some time because I'm not using curse words to fill in the blanks, right? I'm using actual words. I'm taking time to construct my sentences in a way that I know other people can understand without me having to add a little pizzazz into it, right? So yeah, that I would say that's a clear thing for me where my mental has shifted from using my old self and cultivating my new self, right? So also certain thoughts, habits or rituals that I would do prior to where I am now still try to creep up sometimes. Um and sometimes are still prevalent for me today, you know. And that's something that I'm learning. Rome was not built in a day, right? And so the things that I'm wanting to change about myself, I want immediate change, right? But some of these things have been with me since I first was able to talk, you know? And so for me to put in an active effort to change these things, I know for myself it's not going to happen overnight. And I know also that sometimes I'm going to slip. Sometimes I'm going to fall. Sometimes I may revert back to my old habits, right? But changing my mindset from beating myself up when I do slip is something that's been beneficial to me. God does not want us to condemn ourselves for our mistakes. He doesn't. He wants us to learn from them, of course, but he does not want us to condemn ourselves and feel bad for the mistakes that we make because we all make mistakes. No one's perfect. We're all humans. We all have emotions. We all have different ways of seeing things, right? And so when we make mistakes or do things that, aren't of God, he does not want us to condemn ourselves. He wants us to learn from them, right? And he also doesn't want us to continue to make the same mistake over and over and over, even though we may know that we are making the same mistake. Because at that point, it's not a mistake; it's a choice. If you're consciously making that same choice over and over, it's not a mistake. You are actively doing that, and that's what God doesn't want us to do. And that's something that I've been struggling with. There are just some things about me or things that I used to do that are just they got them hooks in me, right? But I know that with prayer, with being obedient to God's word, that anything is possible. You know, He is making me brand new in this moment as we're speaking, and so I'm just keeping that at the forefront of my mind. That I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm not going to condemn myself about it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm not going to harp on what's going wrong when I can just focus on what I can do to make things right, right? Um Also in the same vein as that, changing ourselves mentally seems to be the hardest thing for me. So used to doing things or being in survival state that we don't need to focus on survival anymore. We still tend to reach for those things that kept us during those seasons. And I know for me, I am getting out of a survival season that I was probably in for the past 2 years, I would say 2 years, give or take. I've been in a surviving season. I've been doing things just to stay afloat, just to survive, right? Um, and where I'm at now, I'm not I'm not in a survival season anymore. I'm in a season where I've licked my wounds during the survival season. I've done what I needed to do to maintain, and now I'm here at a place where I can breathe a little bit. I can take a little more risks, take more chances for certain things, and just being more active in my decision making, right? Taking into account that I don't have to do the things that I did when I was struggling to survive, right? Um, yeah. Also, losing our old selves allows us to make room for our new ones. While our routines may be filled with things we've had to do, our new mindset, oh, hold on, our new mindset allows us to shed what we had to do for more of what we want to do. And that's something, it's been difficult for me because I'm so used to doing what I felt like I needed to do to continue on to make it to the next day. But now I don't need those things. So like certain vices, certain things that I would do or that would push me on to the next day, I don't really need those anymore, right? And that's a blessing in itself because we all have our vices, I'm not perfect. I still do some things that I may not feel like I should do. But that's just life. I'm just at a point where I'm thankful that I'm not constantly in that survival mindset anymore. So, with that being said, moving on from season one, which is mental, we're going to move on to season two, which is physical. So, we're thinking of physical loss. First thing I think of physically losing is weight, being conscious of what's going on with my body. If you guys were here last month, as I always say, my church was participating in a fast for the month of January, and during that fast, I lost 22 pounds. Um, from just fasting, not doing any exercising or extra exercising, um, but just based off of what I ate and the times that I ate, and that's another big key factor. Um, Eating after 7 is is something I'm trying to continue to put in my everyday life because it's after that, after 7, you're really not doing anything. You're just chilling. So that's just sitting on you, right? Um, but yes, I'm really in a mindset where I'm more conscious of what I'm eating. The fast allowed me to take control over something I had very little control over, which was my eating habits, y'all. Um, my eating habits aren't the best right now compared to where they were during the fast, but I'm more cognizant. I'm juicing more. I'm finding a balance. I eat not the best one day, and then the next day I juice or I cook all my meals, right, and then the next day I go back. I'm finding a balance, and I'm really looking to be in a place where I'm having more of the good and less of the bad. Trying to find a balance. And it's gonna take a while, right? It's gonna take dedication. It's gonna take me being really serious about wanting to implement these changes in my life, right? And honestly, a part of me wants to do another fast at the end of this month. Well, the beginning of next month of March. So that might be another thing that I do. Is doing another fast. I'm trying to think. A fast every other month, is that too much? I don't know. We're gonna think about it. We're gonna just put a pin in that. Um, but yes, my eating habits were something I had very little control over. I would binge eat. I would just eat based off emotions, eating my emotions, eating how I'm feeling. Food was always there. Food was always there to make me feel better temporarily, right? Not a consistent feeling of not a consistent good feeling. So yes, moving on to that another line, physically losing. So we talked about weight, but physically losing people. Um, Last year and the year before, yeah, because it's 2026. So last year and the year before, I lost a lot of people, be it intentionally or not. Um, it is what it is. That's just life. We lose people. Nobody stays in our life permanently. Nobody's here all the time. Though the loss of some of those people is still felt to this day, y'all. I know that it's inevitable. That's just what happens. Um, Losing people is a part of life, and I don't regret the ones that I've lost. Well, I don't regret the ones that were present for me for the seasons that they were. People come into your life for a season and a reason, right? And that season could be a day, could be a couple of months, a couple of years, a couple of decades. But that season is that season, and when that season's over, it is. It's over. Um, and while it may hurt, uh, that we're losing certain people in our lives, we also gain people. You know, anything that's taken away is always, brought back, so I try to keep that into consideration, especially as an adult, especially as losing, people close to you. It's like, okay, this hurts. This person's not here. I can't have these conversations, or I can't do these activities anymore with this person. And maybe, it's for good reason. God does things in mysterious, God works in mysterious ways. And so him removing people from our lives could be him saving our lives, removing those people. And that's something I'm learning, is that some of the people that God has removed from my life, he's removed because they were hurting me without me knowing, without me actually knowing what's happening in real time. But he knew, he always knows. So him removing certain people from my life, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that. I may not know it immediately, but it's going to be revealed to me. Um, so I keep that in my mind. Losing people may hurt, but it's a part of the experience we call life. And I take honor in those shared experiences, even from those who were sent to hurt me. Um, I don't. It's it's thunderstorming here. I do not. I'm trying to move in a way, and I've given so many things to God that I'm dealing with. I don't have any enemies. I don't have anyone that I am anyone that I am. Ooh, this is hard. I don't have anyone that I hate or have any ill will or hurt feelings towards anymore. I've given them all to God. Now sometimes those thoughts come back and I'm like, ooh, but I don't wish harm on anybody. God's gonna take care of who's ever hurt me. And if I hurt anybody, God's gonna take care of me in that way, right? So no one's perfect, and I just pray that those that have hurt me, I pray that whatever it was that pushed you to hurt me, I pray that it God removes that from you. I pray that God um shows you what true understanding, peace, love, all it is. I pray that God does that, and that you are saved. So yeah, I don't have any ill will, any vitriol, animosity towards people anymore. I just let it be and let God take care of it. So that's the physical. Moving into season 3, which is emotional. Um, so looking at loss from an emotional standpoint, right? Losing control of our emotions. While it's been something I've been constantly working on, Rome wasn't built in a day. Um, I would say, I think early last week, what's today? Today's Thursday. Yeah, early last week, I had a situation where I was emotionally charged. Um, and I just didn't want to do the work to, one, use the feelings wheel to have a better understanding of what I'm feeling, um, or even just communicating that in a healthy way. And I think I was on the phone with Leo Wichi and I think Leo Wichi and Mystic Hunori, and somebody just pissed me off in the real world, right? And I was just, not feeling the best towards that person. And um, I think Leo Wichi was trying to tell me, let it go. I was like, no, I don't want to at this moment. I wanted to, I wanted to sit in the, I guess, the toxicity of the emotions that were spiraling around in my head. Right now, I didn't act on these emotions towards that person who caused me to, who triggered me to feel that way. But I most definitely sat in those nasty feelings. I was like, you know what, I'm a cuss you out in my head, right? Um, So controlling my emotions, losing control of our emotions, is something that I'm working on. But that's probably the first, let's say, loss of a control of emotions that I've had in quite some time. Sometimes things just get so far out of whack that our emotions take over. I think back to the mental season, um, where we just said losing our old selves. And so that old self pops back up sometimes when we want to sit in our emotions and act on our emotions, right? And so I think back, okay, hey, we know how to handle them. We know how to express them in a healthy way. So let's do that, you know. And sometimes we just don't want to. While we may be at a place where our growth in things is apparent, we must give ourselves grace for the moments where we're pulled back into those old ways of dealing with our emotions. Give ourselves grace. Give ourselves grace. Leo Wichi says, LOL, it took a second, but I remember now. Yeah, I did not want to give grace to that person. I did not want to be the bigger person or take the higher road, but ultimately I did. And so, last but definitely not least, is our fourth season, which is the spiritual season. So, we're looking at loss in a spiritual standpoint, in a spiritual sense, right? And so, um, I don't have a lot of things written out or dialogue for this portion, but I do have a video. So, if you guys are familiar, if you guys aren't familiar with the Bible, there is a book called the Book of Job, Job. Looks like Job, but it's Job. Um, and it talks about a man who loved God, obeyed God, um, and the devil came in and told God, "Hey, this man says he loves you. He shows so much love for you. Um, I can make a bet that I can make him change that. I can make him not have that love for you." And God was like, "Okay, you know." And things happened to Job. A lot of things happened to Job that don't make sense. But ultimately, through all the strife and all the trials and tribulations, Job did not waver in his love or trust of God. And so through that, and when I tell you everything was taken away from Job, family, health, friends, children, money, livelihood, everything was taken away. And even through all of that, he still loved God. And so when we feel like we lose things, when we feel like, especially physical things, we tend to think of it in a negative standpoint, in a negative mindset. But I know for me, I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot. Um, but I am at a point where I'm giving things to God. I don't harbor on them. And I know that whatever is happening in my life is for a reason and that He's going to see me through on the other side. So I just have the short video. It's about 7 minutes. I don't know. It's short. But it is narration and a little bit of a summary of the book of Job and that story of how, well, all the stuff I just said, right? So let me pull it up for y'all real quick. And we may never understand why we're suffering, but trusting in God and trusting in His Word allows us to continue to seek Him, to find Him, and let Him lead us to where He needs us to go. You know, everything is in a season, and a season is not forever. A season is temporary. You know, and so keeping that in our mind, in the back of our mind, the forefront of our mind, allows us to get through those hard times, right? So, with that being said, we are at the end of the podcast episode tonight. What we do here in our wrap up, quick wrap up, is our know for sure. So, this is something that I know for sure from the beginning of this episode to now, right? So what do I know for sure? I know for sure that everything is temporary. Seasons come and go, be it with people, jobs, relationships, mindsets, things change. Loss, while it may be something globally seen as something negative, I think loss could be such a beautiful, positive thing, right? As i.e., losing weight, losing old mindsets, losing old people or toxic people, right? Um, that loss is something that I'm looking at more so than the negative side of loss. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Um, News and upcoming events. Also, I'm doing a life coaching thing with the start of the year in progress. I'm announcing my Through the Seasons program. It's a small 4-week coaching experience for people who feel unseen, emotionally stuck, or between chapters and want a space to be heard and find clarity. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and DM me. Hi, Uncle, it's EJ. What's up, EJ? How you feeling, nephew? How you feeling? How you feeling? Go ahead and DM me here or send me an email at fourseasons.com at fourseasons@gmail.com if you guys are interested in coaching. That's something that is really, something that I'm passionate about. So if that's something you guys are interested in, go ahead and reach out to me to get more information. Doing good. Okay, I'm happy to hear you doing good. I'm happy to hear you. How's TJ? How's TJ doing? Um, Also, plugging my co-working stream every Saturday at 11 a.m. EST here on this channel. I have a co-working stream that I do where we promote accountability, goal completion, goal setting, and have a sense of community, right? So if that's something you guys are interested in, I have that here every Saturday at 11 a.m. EST. Trying to think, do I got something? Okay, yeah. So yeah. Um, Also, I have my Discord. If you guys want to be notified of any updates, get notified of every time I go live or anytime I post on the YouTube channel, go ahead and put that in. He said, "Hey, Uncle." Okay, I'm happy to hear y'all both good. I'm happy to hear that. I also have my YouTube page there in the chat as well. If that's something you guys are interested in, all the past episodes of the podcast are on there. I have shorts. So go ahead, show me love. Give me a sub. It's free over there. It's free. Subs cost money here, but follows are free. Subs on YouTube are free. So do what you will. Do all the free stuff to support your boy. Um, but yes. With that being said, I want to say thank you to first and foremost the Four Season community for always showing up and showing out. Y'all mean the world to me. Thank you to all of my followers, all of my lurkers, all my subscribers, and everyone in between. I appreciate you guys more than you know. I will be back here Saturday for the co-working stream. I'll also be back here Thursday for the last episode of the month of February. The last episode of the month of February for the podcast. So, with that being said, be good to yourselves, be good to everyone else, and I'll see you guys later.